Ojai. Querétaro. The state in the central Mexico. The administrative center of the state, the city Santiago de Querétaro. Though in the usual use the name Querétaro is used both for the city and for the state. Querétaro borders on the state of San Luis Potosí, in the west on the state of Guanajuato, in the east on the state of Hidalgo, in the southeast with the state of Mexico, and in the southwest with the state of Michoacán in the north. The administrative center, the city Santiago de Querétaro, is located approximately in 200 km to the northwest from Mexico City. The city is known for the architecture of a colonial era. The toponym comes from a word in language of Indians of a pure pet Querétaro and ball game means. It should be noted that La Canada area to the east from Santiago de Querétaro is noted by the narrow gorge, which is similar to two opposite hills used in Indian ball game. Probably, the name comes from the word of language of a pure pet Querétaro, where Kaeri, big, Ireta, people, Ruyu, the place. The place of big people. Ke Arandahu. Ke Arenda, the rock, and Ruyu, the place. The place of the rock. The name passed to the city of the same name and then into the state, after creation of the last. In 1867 change was made to the name of the state, the surname of de Artiga in honor of the General J.M. Cayetano Artigui is added. Jose Maria Cayetano Artiga Magallanes, which is cancelled in 2010. Thus, he takes the 27th place from 32 states. This state is very mountainous, especially regions of the Sierra Gorda and Sierra Cartana. The area between two areas, valleys and semidesierto, consists of numerous valleys and, as a rule, small peaks. However, the highest peak, Cerro del Sam, Cerro El Espolón, 3240 m. Cerro La Pinquica, 3160 m. And Cerro de la Vega, 3120 m. The most mountain city, Amialco, 2620 m. Whereas the most low-sighted, Halpin, lies at the height of 760 m above sea level. Santiago de Querétaro and San Juan del Rio lie at the height of 1820 and 1920 m respectively. In the state there is a big variety of climates, generally owing to height differences. According to classification of climates of Quiapan, exists 9 types of climate. San Juan del Rio, Cadereyta, Tequisquiapan and Ezequiel Montes is most widespread semi-droughty and moderate. BSK, which covers 39.53% of the territory of the state, generally the cities. Querétaro belongs to 2 main hydrological pools, the Panaco River on eastern frontiers which flows into the Gulf of Mexico and Lema Santiago on the western borders which flows into the Pacific Ocean. The main rivers of the first pool, San Juan, which connects to the River Tula, forming the Montezuma River, which is eastern frontier of the state. The region of the Sierra Gorda has several rivers in the territory, and among them there is Esteros and the Santa Maria. The Publico and Querétaro rivers belong to Lerma's pool. The main sources of water are usually reservoirs in particular, in decreasing order of importance. Zimapang, name of the Constitution of 1917. Galindo. San Ildefonso, Centenario, Santa Catarina, Laliab, Halpan and Soledad. Santiago de Querétaro, and therefore most of the population of the state is in the basin of Lerma Santiago. This pool delivers water in the most part of the central Mexico, including Mexico City, Guanajuato and Jalisco, and for this reason is overloaded. It most of all affects Lake Chapala, which level constantly decreases. The city of Querétaro always had a lack of water. Historically it undertook from the next sources, and the aqueduct was for this purpose constructed. See above. Now needs of the city become covered from underground sources. In the state there are 9 aquifers. Querétaro, San Juan del Rio, Chiquimaquillas, Tecascaipan, Buenavista, Imilpan, Tuolumne, Cadereyta and Amialco. In Querétaro's valley it is annually extracted 103 molnam waters, whereas only 70 molnam. It Presupposatsia, therefore there is an annual deficit of 33 million cubic meters. Many projects on supply of the city with water from Panuco's pool, including a doubtful dam on the Esteros River around the Sierra Gorda, were offered. Aqueduct number 2 will be constructed in the next years. It is to provide areas of the valley of Querétaro and Semidesierto with water from the Montezuma River. It is expected that the Aqueduct -2 will cover needs within the next 30 years. Water supply to consumers is regulated by the government agency Comisión Estatal del Agua. In Querétaro, the best indicators of purity of water across all Mexico. The state of Querétaro can be divided into 4 or 5 areas depending on the chosen criterion. These are 2 central valleys: the Valley Querétaro and the Valley of San Juan, the Droti Semidesierto area, and 2 mountainous areas: Sierra Gorda and Sierra Cartana. Valley of Querétaro. Corregidora, El Marquez, Imilpan and Santiago de Querétaro includes municipalities. It is a part of Bajío, the central Mexican plain. Valley of San Juan. Municipalities: Amialco, Ezequiel Montes, Pedro Escobedo, San Juan del Rio and Tecascaipan. It is extremely portly valley with rich water resources both superficial and underground. This area can be considered as a state granary. Semidesierto. Cadereyta's municipalities: Peñamiller, San Joaquin and Tuolumne. It is the dry area because of mountains of the Sierra Gorda which detains the clouds going to this place. Sierra Gorda. Municipalities: Arroyo Seco, Halpan, Landa and Pinal de Amoles. It is a part of the Sierra Madre Oriental which passes through the state. There are both the highest and the lowest marks of heights in the state. And there are many types of climate, from alpine near Pinal de Amoles and San Joaquin and to tropical inland. Here very cross-country terrain with numerous intermountain hollows. The area is rich with mineral resources, generally mercury. Sierra Cartana. Imilpan and Amialco is formed by municipalities. The area usually is divided and considered as a part of the central valleys. Querétaro was populated with Indians of Onotoma and the last were governors of the city. Also at an insignificant measure there were nomad tribes called by Chichimeque. There are several archaeological sites dated by that era, such as Pyramid in Coracaider and Rans Parking in Toluquilla in Sierra Gorda. Spaniards came to this area in 1531, and they signed a contract with the leader of Onotoma who was called Conan. The legend says that was the agreement under which local Indians will take the Spanish charge and Catholic belief is reached if are defeated against a hand-to-hand fight without weapon. The Spanish conquerors were on the verge of defeat, but suddenly the sky darkened and in heaven Saint Jacob Compostelsky and the burning sacred cross seemed. Local Indians right there recognized defeat and thus the city of Santiago. Saint Jacob de Querétaro was founded on July 25. After the Spanish gain, the area was recognized as strategically important as connected the districts of Guanajuato, San Luis Potosi and Zacatecas rich with mountain fields to the capital, Mexico City. The expeditions equipped for gaining the north of the country and for the address of local Indians to Catholic belief went from the city of Querétaro. It is the main reason for which the central part of the city is famous for so large number of the religious constructions dated that era. The Catholic missionary Junipero Serra went from Querétaro in the direction of the top California where he was responsible for foundation of settlements which became later the main cities of California. For example, San Francisco. From 1726 to 1738 the huge work on civil engineering in the state was done. The aqueduct which delivered water to the city of Querétaro was presumably constructed of nearby sources at the expense of the Spanish aristocrat Juan Antonio de Urrutia and Aran Islands. According to a legend, he was in love with the nun from the monastery of the Sacred Cross and therefore the aqueduct comes to an end with the fountain in a monastery orchard. The city of Querétaro had such value during the Spanish board that it was called the third city of the state, after Mexico City and Puebla. Querétaro is considered a cradle of the Mexican independence as here the first revolt against Spaniards was planned. However, on September 13, 1810 the plan was opened by the viceroyal government. Therefore one of participants of a plot spouse of a Coracaido Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez was imprisoned under house arrest to seize other conspirators. The legend says that it began to knock heels and so distracted attention from Ignacio Perez which was galloped on a horse to San by Miguel El Grande, nowadays San Miguel de Allende, and warned other participants of a plot. After that the War of Independence began. In 1824 the new Constitution of Mexico gave to Querétaro the status of the state. On the soil there were many disputes as Querétaro wasn't the province as other states of the colonial period, and I was Corregimiento de Letras, some kind of special administrative unit. The strong economy of Querétaro and, therefore, his ability to bring sufficient income eventually convinced deputies to provide in the status of the state. The city Santiago de Querétaro was proclaimed the capital of Mexico in 1847 when the American troops were included into Mexico City. On May 30, 1848 here the peace treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo under which Mexico conceded a half of the territory to the United States was signed. Maximilian I Gabsburgov in 1867 chose Querétaro for opposition from a dynasty and suppression of the Republican troops of war as approaching from the north. Imperial troops under command of the Emperor Maximilian arrived there on February 19, 1867. They were surrounded by Republican troops, and the siege of Querétaro began on March 5, 1867. On May 14, the Imperial Army tried to break to Mexico City, but was betrayed by one of the colonels. It put an end to the Second Mexican Empire. Maximilian was taken prisoner and shot in Santiago de Querétaro. After the Mexican Revolution, winners gathered in Santiago de Querétaro, where on February 5, 1917 adopted the Constitution, which remains in force to this day. In 1931, the representative of Right Socialist Institutional Revolutionary Party, PRI, Perazalcocer, Antonio Perazalcocer, was elected to a post of the governor of the state. Santiago de Querétaro hosted the FIFA World Cup of 1986. Later in the state there came stagnation, which proceeded to the 1970th when the industry quickened. Querétaro quite quiet staff without public disorders, with low crime rate and the high standard of living. It attracts internal migrants from other parts of Mexico, in particular from the Federal District, states of Mexico City and Guanajuato, and also investments from abroad, generally from the USA, South Korea and the European countries. In the political plan till 1997, the ruling Socialist Party PRI, which representatives were always elected to a position of the governor of the state, dominated. However, this year monopolies of socialists the end came. The representative of opposition right-wing Conservative Party of National Action, PAN, was elected the new governor of Querétaro. Her candidate won also the following elections in 2003, however, in 2009 the power returned to socialists again. As of 2000, the population of the state was made by 1.402 million inhabitants. By estimates for 2010, the population makes 1,827,937 people and population density is equal 155.32 people/km. The state is considered as the city-state, as most of the population is concentrated in municipality Santiago de Querétaro, nearly 46% as of 2000. According to a census of 1995, there are only two cities with the population more than 50,000 demand, namely San Juan del Rio, 84,000 inhabitants, and Santiago de Querétaro, 469,000 inhabitants. The most inhabited municipalities, 2000. Querétaro, 639,839 man. San Juan del Rio, 179,300. Corregidora, 74345 man. El Marqués, 71464 man. Amialso, 54638 man. Cadereyta, 51688 man. Tecascaipan, 49911 man. The staff has the high index of the standard of living. D index -0.802 and takes on this indicator the 13th place among 32 states. However, between different municipalities there is inequality. Querétaro and Querétaro are the greatest values index and have respectively, whereas Amialco and Pinal de moles, the smallest -0.652 and 0.632. In the state there live carriers of Indian languages. 2000. Aged from 5 years and is more senior. 6.7% from them don't speak Spanish. Otomis Indians have the greatest number of carriers minus are 87.4%. They are followed Nahuatl 1069 or 4.2%. Amasa 336 or 1.3%. By Zapoteki 215 or 0.9%. And Aztecs 121 or 0.5%. Since 1993 the state is divided into 18 municipalities. Management and policy. In 2005 the government of the state of Querétaro was recognized by non-governmental organization Transparencia Mexicana, which is a part of the Transparency International organization, the least corrupted among all Mexican states. Local management has 3 branches: executive, legislative and judicial. The governor elected for 6-year term directs an executive branch of the power. Querétaro has a paradoxical political position. It was always quite conservative staff, though the main events of the Mexican history connected with the liberal transformations took place in this city. For example, fight for independence against Spain began here, but the Emperor Maximilian chose this city as the last defensive boundary, as he was popular here. Electorate. The legislature of the state has 25 places, 15 elective and 10 according to party lists. Economy. Querétaro has one of the most dynamic economies among the Mexican states. GDP growth exceeds Srednegosodostveni for several years and was 5.5% in 2005, 6.1% in 2004 and 4.1% in 2003, according to the data of Agenda Economica published by the federal government. Average growth from 1993 for 2004 was 5.1%, that provides to Querétaro the second place in Mexico. Transport. Querétaro is an intersection of roads of all Mexico, as here high-speed motorways which connect northeast, western and central Mexico connect. Federal Highway 57 leaves Mexico City and reaches Laredo on border with the USA. It is also called the Pan American Highway. The municipalities located lengthways it are called an industrial corridor. They are most developed in the state. Federal Highway 45 connects Querétaro to the state of Guanajuato. In view of the strategic importance, federal roads get generous investment support in the state. Now in the state there are 2 airports. The International Airport of Fernando Espinosa Gutierrez, located in 22, came from the capital of the state, opened on December 10, 2004. IATA. Crow. The second is a small airfield in Halpandisera which doesn't accept commercial flights at present and is used for connection of areas de Sierra Gorda and Santiago de Querétaro, generally by means of the state planes. Private buses provide the message in the state, servicing all municipalities. They also work at some long-distance routes on a national scale. In the cities and settlements, public transport consists only of private buses. The companies having the headquarters in Querétaro. Michelin, the world-famous producer of tires from France. The coat of arms of the state of Querétaro represents the board divided into 3 unequal fields. In the top, bigger field, the darkened sun topped with a cross is represented. In the top corners of the blue field, 2 white 5-point. Exactly at the crucial moment of fight when superior forces of Indians began to restrict Spaniards and their native allies, there was a solar eclipse. The scared Indians ran up, and fight was won. Spaniards claimed that they saw the heavenly patron of Spain, Saint Yakov. Santiago. On a white game with a sword and a banner on which the dark red cross was represented. Saint Yakov on the rising horse is represented in the left Niznai poly of a board. In the right Niznai heraldic poly of a board, symbols of fertility of soils and wealth, a branch of a grapevine and 5 ears of wheat are represented. Each field of a board is separated by a gold border, and the board has an openwork gold frame. The basis of a board is symbols of valor of Mexicans, 2 gold mortars, 4 gun kernels, 2 horns of plenty, a drum and 2 bunches of arrows in memory of importance of Querétaro in the military history of Mexico. A symbol of integration of Querétaro into federation are 2 national flags of Mexico, scrutiony behind a board. From below, the coat of arms surrounds a wreath from oak and laurel branches. Transol composition, the state emblem of Mexico, which replaced the Spanish Rayo regalia after finding of independence by Mexico. The coat of arms, without frame, was granted to the city of Querétaro on October 29, 1655. After formation of the state of the same name, the city coat of arms became also the coat of arms of all state. The state of Querétaro has no officially approved flag. The white panel with the image of the coat of arms in the center is often used. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.